How's it going, people? The two-seater sports car category fits a huge variety of cars. So many that it seems the only real defining feature that matches them all together is the fact that they have two seats. The huge breadth of options given by this car category allow for so many people to find the cars that they want and, more importantly, a car at the right price for them. A new 911 will set you back 77 grand at a bare minimum, but a smart roadster is only going to set you back about 3 to 5 grand. This means that two-seater sports cars are far more accessible to broke car people like myself. Or at least when compared to a lot of other car categories. Regardless, in this video I'm going to give you 5 two-seater sports cars that you can buy for less than £5,000. That's not bad for some proper good fun on B roads. Let me know in the comments if you think I should have put anything else on this list. There are so many options under 5 grand that I just chose 5 that I thought were particularly interesting and might be cool for you guys to watch. As usual, remember that I make these videos from the UK market perspective, so prices in other countries may differ, and any second-hand car you buy has the potential to be bad on maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all those kind of things. So I'll mention them throughout the video, but remember that anytime you buy a second-hand car, it has the potential to be unreliable, even the ones that have a good reputation. Remember to like and subscribe for more weekly car content, comment down below, let me know your thoughts, but without further ado, let's get into the video. It's the return of the special mention. One car I briefly wanted to highlight is the Honda S2000, of which 2 are currently on sale here in the UK for under £5,000, hence the reason it's only a special mention. They are pretty high mileage examples, and they would need a lot of work, but the fact is you can still just about afford this car for under £5,000. The S2000 has a 4-cylinder, 2-litre VTEC engine that puts out 240 brake horsepower through its rear wheels, taking it from 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. Not bad at all for the price, and the car is generally pretty highly regarded in the car community, considering it's generally pretty rare on the roads. Having been in an older example, I was a little dubious about the handling, though journalists suggest that AP2 models introduced from 2004 were slightly better in this aspect, with revised spring damper tuning to decrease the twitchiness. I won't go into huge detail on the car as it's only a special mention, but I couldn't make a video on cheap two-seater sports cars without mentioning it, considering you can just about get one for under 5 grand. Anyway, let's get onto the proper list. Coming in at number 5 with the W30 Toyota MR2. This third and final generation of the MR2 has a 1.8 litre VVTi engine that puts out 138 brake horsepower through its rear wheels, taking it from 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds. Not super quick, but it will certainly feel rapid with how small and agile the little car is. Though the W20 and W10 are far better looking and generally cooler cars in my opinion, the W30 offers a fun, sporty, mid-engine car for a minimal price. You can even get them with a 6-speed manual rather than the standard 5-speed for slightly improved gear ratios. Harunori Shiratori, the chief engineer of the car, suggested that the focus of the car was on driver enjoyment, blending good movement, low inertia and light weight. Paired with a long wheelbase to achieve high stability and that mid-engine layout, the car is designed to handle brilliantly. Journalists often call the car the everyman Lotus because of its handling and low price point. Between 1999 and 2007 there were numerous changes year on year to the car, so when looking to buy one, consider looking at the year that best suits your fancy in terms of the features it offered. I would suggest that the optional LSD that was available from 2003 makes anything after then a slightly more interesting prospect, but each to their own. A founding principle of all of the Mark IIIs was that they would be built on a simple shell and small shape, so that customers had the opportunity to customize them more easily, which is a pretty cool feature. You can pick up a high mileage MR2 for under £1,000, so for the broke car guy looking to get a two-seater sports car, this is a perfect option. But for £5,000 you get a low mileage model from between 2004 to 2006 with around 20 to 50,000 miles on it, depending on the year and service history. That is so decent for the potential sideways action you could have in this little beast. Be careful though, as these cars are renowned for being a handful in the wet, with the rear end sticking out maybe a little more than is comfortable for a few owners. In terms of reliability, one key issue with this car comes from the pre-cat exhaust manifold breaking up and the debris being sucked into the engine. This is obviously not ideal, however it is an issue that can be avoided if you buy a D-cat exhaust, which is around £180, so not the end of the world. Earlier models were also particularly renowned for consuming a considerable amount of oil, so be wary of this, and a few models had a significant issue whereby the cross member was subject to corrosion, which can cost in excess of £1,000 to fix. In terms of the general reliability however, from what I can see from owners' forums, the car is pretty strong. Overall then, a great car to start off the top 5, which provides some serious sports car fun for a very low price. Just don't expect to put anything in the boot. Narrowly beating the MR2 to 4th on this list is the Mazda MX-5 NC, also known as the Miata in the US market. This third iteration of a well-loved line of Mazdas is a 2-litre inline-4 that puts out 157 brake horsepower through its 2 rear wheels, taking it from 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds. While the NC is actually my least favourite looking MX-5, you can't deny its ability to blast around B roads, and reviews of the car note its significantly improved usability when compared with its predecessors. While the NA and NB were maybe more raw cars in terms of their offerings, with many suggesting that they handle better than the NC offered similar amounts of sports car fun with a quicker 0 to 60 and way more creature comforts in order to appeal to a wider market, like the hardtop convertible roof for example. As I said though, the styling is, in my opinion, a step back from the two otherwise very good looking formers, and dare I say it, the best looking successor. Though the NC did get a facelift in 2008 to be a little bit more aggressive on the front end, I still think it looks kind of like a bubble car to me. But that's just my opinion. Despite its looks, the car was still able to win the Car of the Year Japan award and made Car and Driver's 10 best list from 2006 to 2013, while What Car magazine named it their used car of the year in 2014, as well as their best fun car. So Mazda clearly did something right. In terms of additional comforts, certain options of the car come with luxuries like heated seats, an LSD, steering wheel controls, and a bunch of other far more modern features to make your sporty experience a little bit more chilled. If you're looking to get one on a very low budget, you can get one of these for under $2,000 if you're lucky, but for £5,000 you're looking at a 2006 to 2008 model with between 50 to 80,000 miles on the clock depending on condition. In terms of reliability, like the MR2, the NC is renowned for using oil pretty quickly, so it's important that you keep on top of it. According to an MX-5 expert I found through Evo, the only problems they see at their garage is when a customer hasn't kept on top of those oil levels. This relates directly to the engine, gearbox, differential and clutch in particular, which all suffer significantly from low oil levels. One other point to note is that the calipers are prone to seizing, so if you own one, do some hard braking to see if the car pulls to one side. Otherwise, as with many Mazdas, the NC is generally quite a reliable car, and plenty of people run them as dailies. Even if I have my gripes with the looks, you can't deny the history and fun that comes with an MX-5, so it thoroughly deserves its place on this list. 3 cars on this list are the same 0 to 60 times, so I've put them in order of brake horsepower to break the tie. Taking a respectable third on this list is the E85 BMW Z4 Roadster, specifically the 3-litre inline-6 model which puts out 231 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. Dropping below 6 seconds in a chilled out convertible car is not bad at all, particularly when you consider the comfort you get in a Z4 as well. This includes disc brakes on all 4 wheels, electronic stability control, and both ABS and traction control incorporated. One comfort feature that wasn't so well received was the electric power steering, which has been criticised for lacking feedback. If you want hydraulic power steering, you have to shell out a lot more money and get a hold of a Z4M, which is undoubtedly far superior in pretty much every way. The Z4 picked up where the Z3 left off, with a stiffer and larger chassis, and that 3-litre engine is the M54 block that you find in the E46 330i, amongst a few other bimmers. Kind of like the Z3 is a 2-seater counterpart to the E36 3 Series, the Z4 is the same but for the E46. Though I personally really like the Z4 overall, it must be said that I would always have to go for the more expensive and much more rare coupe. As it is not only far better looking in my opinion, I believe it will be a much better investment in the long term. Just look at how well the Z3 M Coupe has done and how that has dragged the price of the standard coupe up with it. If history repeats itself with the very popular Z4, you could stand to make some good cash in the long run. Probably nowhere near as much as with the Z3, but just look at the prices of classic Z cars, they all seem to continue going up. If you're willing to settle for a very high mileage model, you can get a 3-litre Z4 for as little as $2,500, but for 5k you're looking at getting a 2003 model with around 80 to 90,000 miles on the clock. Quite high compared to some of the other cars in this video, that's for certain. It seems to be a common theme with these 2-seater sports cars, but again the Z4 uses a lot of oil, and as with all engines there can be significant damage if it's been running dry. Some engines run a little rough, which usually means an ECU update is in order, and one ridiculous issue is failed automatic wipers, which tends to be because of a faulty sensor, but requires the entire windscreen to be replaced. What a joke. Owners do suggest that the M54 engine is notoriously reliable though, so hopefully if you have to replace the windscreen, you'll make up for it in the engine running solidly for many miles. In addition to this, I would just mention that the 6-cylinder 3-litre model has significantly higher running costs than the 4-cylinder equivalent, so bear that in mind when you make a decision to buy a Z4. Either way, I really like the Z4 personally, and even though I would definitely go for the more expensive coupe if possible, for $5,000 it offers you some real fun alongside some decent comfort. On a hot sunny day with the roof down, cruising along a country lane, you'll feel legendary. Taking second on the list we have the 986 Porsche Boxster S, as well as pretty much any Porsche Boxster 986 for that matter. This car is often called a hairdresser's car, but I can definitely see it growing in popularity over time, especially given the fact that it literally helped to save the Porsche brand when they were going through hard times and falling sales in the 1990s. The 986 stimulated a commercial change in the way that Porsche ran its business, as after consulting Toyota, they began to share parts more widely across models. After displaying the Boxster concept at the North American International Motor Show, and gaining a huge amount of media attention, Porsche reinvigorated the brand and brought a whole new clientele that was able to afford the Boxster but not the more famous 911. The 986S is a 3.2 litre flat 6 engine that puts 252 brake horsepower through the rear wheels, taking it from 0 to 60 in a Z4 equaling time of 5.7 seconds. Very nice for a car that arrived almost 5 years before the Z4. A key benefit of the car is the engine placement. While the 911 is renowned for being a rear-engined car, the 986 is mid-engined, allowing for a low centre of gravity, near perfect weight distribution, and neutral handling, meaning an incredible driving experience for the money. I agree with the majority of people in that Boxsters have generally gotten better looking over time, as the 986 is a bit bubbly, whereas the 987 gets a little more aggressive, and the 981 and 718 go to new levels of cool. But without the 986 and its success, those cars might not even exist. Always respect your elders. High mileage examples will set you back just under £4,000, so for 5 grand you're still looking at 80 to 90,000 miles for one of these. If you can't stomach the mileage, going for the 2.7 or 2.5 litre non-S versions won't help that much, as they also have around the same miles on them, but you can get a cheaper one for around 3 grand. In terms of reliability, the first run of 986s had significant issues with their engines failing, resulting in cracked or slipped cylinder liners. This was very quickly dealt with by the 1999 models, but be wary of this if you go for a 1998. There are further potential issues in terms of cracked bore liners, worn chain guides on the tensioner, a failure of the intermediate shaft bearing, and oil leaks are quite common as a result of the rear main oil seal failing. Misfires are often a result of ignition packs being cracked, and there are numerous other engine related issues to watch out for. A key area to look at when buying one is the clutch. If it's light, you're good, but a heavy clutch could mean a lot of trouble. Other issues are related to corrosion of the brakes and joints of the suspension, but a key point with the Boxsters is that it's not impossible to get one with a very good service history. Find one that's been consistently serviced by a Porsche dealer to keep your mind at ease. Anyway, this Porsche, which will no doubt one day be a classic based on its popularity when new, is a great entry into two-seater sports car ownership from a slightly more elevated brand. I personally would want to save a little further and go for the 987S, but each to their own. Powering its way to the top spot on this list we have the Nissan 350Z, which is a 3.5 litre V6 engine that puts out 276 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in, you guessed it, 5.7 seconds. Renowned as the poor man's GTR, this Japanese beast is the 5th generation of Nissan's Z car line, which includes the particularly famous 240Z. It comes in both coupe and roadster variants, but I would suggest going for the coupe given the better handling you can expect, and I also personally think it looks a little bit better than the soft top, but that's just opinion, so feel free to ignore. Though the car has a bit of a reputation for being bought and riced, it's actually a very decent offering if you can find one that hasn't been modified. Certain models, like the Touring, also come with some surprisingly comfortable features, like a Bose sound system with subwoofer. The 350Z was designed to be a clear member of the Z family, with features like the long hood, short deck design emulating past cars, with the sloping fastback style roof, as well as obviously being a front-engined, two-door, two-seater sports car. Over the years it was in production, the Nissan received consistent updates including 2 facelifts and additional driver aids for different packages. In its initial form, the base model did not include features like traction control, LSD, and cruise control, so you would have to upgrade to an enthusiast edition to get a bit more performance out of the car. Of course, Nissan's Performance Tuning Edition, Nismo, also produced versions of the car, but don't expect to get your hands on one of these for under 5 grand. They're generally intended for track racers, so much so that plenty of the Nismo versions actually void the Nissan factory warranty. So even if you bought the car new, you didn't get a warranty with it. A high mileage example will set you back around £3,000, but for 5 grand looking at a 2003 model with between 70 to 90,000 miles on the clock, depending on the condition. The 350Z suffers in particular on the interior side of reliability, with materials not having a great reputation for durability. Bolsters of seats, electric windows, and the gas struts that hold up the rear hatch are all known to wear out very quickly. The oil pressure sensors are also quite prone to failure, so you'll have to watch oil levels yourself. The engine is known to be pretty solid and reliable in and of itself though, but expect to to change the clutch with the flywheel every 40,000 miles to be safe. Regardless of reliability though, there are a couple of things to bear in mind when buying this sports Z. Firstly, gears 1 through 3 are power limited for safety, which you might not notice, but it seems a bit annoying that you don't get to use all of the power. And secondly, because the car is front engined and rear wheel drive, the handling just can't be as good as some of the other cars on this list, with mid-engine layouts like the 986S. Either way, it's super powerful for the price, a great platform for mods, and part of a unique line of Z cars. A solid Japanese performance two-seater, the Nissan 350Z. So to recap, I've given you my take on the top 5 cheap two-seater sports cars that you can buy for under £5,000. Let me know in the comments if you would have included any other cars on this list. There are so many options, as I mentioned in the introduction, that you literally could have just filled it with a bunch of random two-seater sports cars. But the ones that I've mentioned really stood out to me in the research. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it and comment down below to let me know your thoughts, and obviously subscribe for more weekly car content just like this, as well as my Pointless Polo projects and all those other videos as well. Plenty more topics to go through and plenty more types of videos to come. You don't want to miss it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.